We begin with our top story here on KGW News at 11. It's now been 1 week since a triple homicide in Sandy, and the community, rattled by those lost, came together again today in an effort to heal and process what happened. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm John Adams. We're going to start off with our Jake Holter, who takes us to Sandy.
Sandy neighbors came together Sunday to walk Evans Street, the street where the shooting happened, in an effort to reclaim their sense of safety and in continued remembrance of the lives lost. A moment of silence outside Living Way Fellowship for the 3 victims of the tragic triple homicide in Sandy last week. The church a stone's throw from where the horrific crime happened. So Senior Pastor Sam Albrecht organized a walk for the community to try to heal from the traumatic event.
We wanted to see if there's a time that we can rally people together to support those neighbors, to walk those streets again with them, and to re-inhabit that sense of safety that Sandy actually really does have. This is so foreign to us here.
16-year-old Coben McClure, 37-year-old Jenna Overson, and her 70-year-old mother Mary Beth Overson, all shot and killed in a home on Evans Street. Police arrested and charged Overson's husband, 38-year-old Brian Andrew Moore, with 3 counts of first-degree murder. Leanne Clark is a trauma specialist who lives just a couple blocks from where the shooting happened.
For those of us that heard the events unfold, walking that street, it gives it a sense of, instead of it being this place where the bad thing happened, it's now a place where the community is existing and people are living.
She says these situations can trigger things like PTSD, so it's important to take care of yourself and your mental health after a traumatic event like this.
Keeping their world kind of small, not overstimulating themselves, not overbooking themselves, not trying to make the go, go, go a way to deal with this.
Megan Marmora has only lived in Sandy for 2 years, but has been impressed at how the community is looking out for each other in the wake of this tragedy.
It's easy to show up for the fun stuff, right? But it's not always as easy to show up for the hard stuff. And if it's as easy as taking a walk, that's where we should at least start.
These are literally our neighbors, and so for us, the motivation is to love our neighbor, to be present, and to go where they are. And that's the heart of what we're wanting to do.
Jake Holter, KGW News.
And while people are so eager to help out right now, Sandy police are urging people to be cautious when donating money and verify the source as they become aware of fraudulent fundraising efforts. A list of what police have found to be legitimate GoFundMe fundraisers can be found on our website, kgw.com. All right, let's switch gears and go outside tonight where we're seeing some mostly cloudy skies on this Sunday. It's cloudy but dry out there. But that's going to change heading into Monday. Meteorologist Joe Ranieri is here to let us know what the start of the work week is going to look like. Hey, Joe.
In a word, wet, and it will be very wet here the next couple of days. There's a chance between tomorrow morning and the end of Tuesday, close to an inch of rain. I don't think it will be just quite that much, but anywhere from 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of rain over the next 48 hours. Downtown Portland right now from our Pioneer Park building camera, overcast skies with a temperature of 59 degrees. On the radar, it's pretty calm out there. We do have some showers that will be moving in early tomorrow morning, and I'd say by 7, 8 o'clock, it's all of us, the coast, the valley, and the mountains will be seeing some rain. This is our next weather maker that's going to be moving on shore to start off your work week. So here's the timing of it. Right around 8:30, we're going to be seeing basically some light showers. Well, those light showers turn into heavy downpours by the later part of the afternoon, especially along the Oregon coast, who's going to be dealing with the brunt of this system. You could be seeing by the end of tomorrow near Astoria, the northern part of the coast, close to 3/4 of an inch of rain. And then by tomorrow night, the heavy downpours, the yellows and the oranges you'll see, will just be parked over downtown Portland. So that's why I'm expecting to see up to potentially 1/2 of an inch of rain by the end of tomorrow, and the rainfalls will continue heading into Tuesday. But by the middle part of the week, things will start to improve, and believe it or not, John, we have daytime highs that could be approaching the upper 80s to low 90s by the week's end. I'll talk more about that in a few minutes.
All right, Joe, thanks so much. We'll see you later in the show. Containment efforts continue at the site of the Nippon Dynawave facility tank collapse in Longview. This weekend, crews were busy placing sandbags to stop further contamination due to recent rainy weather. 11 people died in the incident nearly 2 weeks ago. The investigation continues into exactly how and why it happened. In the war in Iran, Israel says it has launched airstrikes against Iran in retaliation for missiles fired at northern Israel on Sunday. Israel saying its defensive systems intercepted Iran's missile attack. Iran's attack was the first since a ceasefire took effect in April. Meantime, peace talks between the U.S. and Iran have stalled as the war reaches the 100-day mark, and cost for American consumers continues to rise. Jen Sullivan has the latest.
It's been 100 days since the U.S. and Israel first launched strikes on Iran. And despite efforts towards a peace deal, negotiations between the U.S. and Iran appear stalled.
The main problem of negotiating with this administration is that you have to face so many changing positions. It makes the whole process very cumbersome, very unstable.
The Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson says the sides are still talking. President Donald Trump sitting down for a taped interview with NBC's Meet the Press Sunday, sounding more optimistic about a possible deal.
We're very close to having a deal, and if we don't have a deal, we'll do it one way or the other. Either way, we win.
One major sticking point is Iran's stockpile of highly enriched uranium, which could be turned into nuclear weapons in days or weeks. Trump has insisted Iran must give up the material, but now he wants Iran to promise even more.
What happens if they not develop, but they go out and purchase, they acquire? I want to put the word, if they buy or purchase or acquire, you've got to have that in there too.
The U.S. also wants to see the Strait of Hormuz reopened. It's a key waterway for global shipping. But since the war with Iran began, maritime traffic has essentially halted and cut off 20% of the world's oil supply from global markets. Caught in the middle are consumers. Oil and gas prices have surged from 100 days ago, and with them, prices for other transported goods.
The gas price story is a serious one. We understand that people are hurting on that.
The national average for a gallon of regular gas as of Sunday was $4.17. That's down from a month ago, but still nearly 40% higher than prices before the war, according to AAA. I'm Jen Sullivan reporting.
Well, across the country, one person is in custody after a stabbing spree inside New York City's Penn Station today. 5 people were injured. Officials say one victim has critical injuries. The others are expected to survive. The suspect is believed to have had a mental health issue. Authorities are investigating. A major earthquake hit the Philippines and triggered tsunami warnings. Officials say it struck Monday morning local time there. The quake registering a magnitude 7.8. 12 people have been killed with more than 200 hurt. Power outages have been reported, along with possible waves of up to 10 feet on some coasts in the region. People in coastal areas are being told to evacuate to higher ground. Now to a KGW investigation. A woman says she rented a Portland Airbnb and paid her bill, but then was mistakenly sent to collections. So how did this happen? Investigative reporter Kyle Aboshi takes a look.
In the midst of her travels far, far away, Pauline scrambled to find a short-term rental in Portland. She scrolled through Airbnb before landing on a place in the Pearl District.
There were certain things that I really wanted. I wanted a washer and dryer.
The small apartment inside Pearl Studios would be home base for about a month while in town for business. But first, the Airbnb host, a company called Landing, asked her to fill out some background information.
I was rerouted. This looked like a good place. I was rerouted to a third-party page or something.
Pauline, who asked us not to use her last name, stayed at the Portland apartment through October, paid her bill, and then moved on. 4 months later, she got a call from a collections agency claiming she owed $143 for an old utility bill.
And I said, that's not possible. I've never had a utility bill in Portland. I said, what's the address? And they give me the address. Lo and behold, it's the Pearl.
Pauline tried clearing things up with Airbnb, the host, Landing, and the apartment complex, but no one seemed to have any clear answers. In a March 27th email obtained by KGW, the property manager wrote, "I have another person in collections that should not be," suggesting this wasn't a one-time mistake.
I give Airbnb my money. Airbnb handles everything else. I've never had any issues. I've never owed anything. But if I were to, I would handle that through, presumably, right, through Airbnb, pay my host. All financial transactions are Airbnb.
A spokesperson for Airbnb said, This is not an experience we want any guest to have, adding, "Our review found this was a clerical system error by the host that they corrected in April." The company that manages the apartment also apologized and admitted it was an error in the software that mistakenly sent a total of 3 guests to collections. The problem has been fixed, the company said, and Pauline is no longer on the hook for that unpaid utility bill. She's no longer in collections. But a closer look revealed there's a bigger issue here. Landing has more than 1,500 Airbnb listings across the country, which require that guests pass Clear ID verification, a background check, a soft credit check, and disclose their Social Security number.
I'd never heard of Airbnb taking Social Security numbers.
Airbnb's written policies appear to prohibit some of the screening practices described in Landing's listings. Airbnb says hosts can't ask guests for contact information after a booking in order to run credit or background checks.
Well, you'd hope that Airbnb would enforce their own rules.
In an email to KGW, Landing said it complies with applicable federal transparency requirements, including those established by the Federal Trade Commission, as well as the policies of the platforms through which it operates, including Airbnb. What started as a collections mistake revealed a larger system that many Airbnb guests may not realize they're entering, where some hosts operate more like landlords, requiring sensitive personal information and shifting parts of the screening and billing process outside the Airbnb platform.
I don't think that this should happen to anyone else.
Airbnb says it is reviewing Landing screening practices to determine whether they violate company policy. Airbnb refunded all of Pauline's money for the short-term rental in Portland, but she worries about the effect this mistake may have on her credit going forward. In other news, another gray whale has been found dead in Washington state. It was discovered June 1st on the central coast of the Olympic Peninsula. The Cascadia Research Collective says the whale was decomposed and washed out with the tide. There have been 26 gray whale deaths in the state so far, with many showing signs of malnutrition. In 2019, 35 gray whales died in a single year. That's the highest on record. This year is on pace to break that. And take a look at this. A dog requiring a rope rescue this weekend on the Oregon coast. The dog had fallen about 100 feet down a steep cliff at Ecola State Park. Officials say it had gotten spooked during a hike and ran off. Despite challenges, including the frightened dog moving further across the cliff face, rescuers were able to reach it and reunite it with its owners, and thankfully it only suffered some minor scratches.